Hello, my name is Josue Peralta. I'm here today joined by my sister Abby and my buddy Mike. I have a question for you guys. What event in your life has shaped you most as a person? And how did it change you? If you can think of it.
Well, personally, the event that has changed me more as a person, I would say would be when I was diagnosed with a brain tumor when I was 4 or 5. Literally it changed the course of my life and the course of my family's life. And because of that, we came to the States, and that just changed everything. And it's allowed me to now overcome lots of obstacles, but it's changed my perspective on life and to this day how I do things. So, yeah, that's the big event for me.
What about you, Mike?
You know, it's interesting that a lot of the life-changing events in our lives come out of trials and
Adversity.
Yeah. And, that's just kind of one of the, I guess, the symptoms of living in a sinful world. And for me, there's a specific event in my life. But I just wanted to read Proverbs 17, verse 3. It says, "The finding pot is for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord trieth the hearts." And in other versions, the word for furnace is crucible.
It's a great book,
interestingly,
by the way. The
That's
Crucible.
what I was thinking about.
well, interestingly enough, in boot camp, I've talked about boot camp. I think the last week,
You told the story
question.
of how
Yeah, I
you
talked about what was the question from last
seeing
week?
your mom.
Yeah, it was about seeing something
Like
about seeing
what
your mom.
moment
Yeah,
did you
well-
relive?
Yeah.
Yeah, what moment I got relive, and it was about boot camp, right? Well, this question is also about boot camp,
Nothing
but the
wrong with
last
that.
event in boot camp was called the Crucible, and so it was like a 3-day event where you got like pretty much starved, and you had to do all these like events or all these like obstacles throughout the entire 2-3 days. You got like 2 hours of sleep a night. It was just miserable.
Oh, man.
But after it, you got your Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, which is the Marine symbol.
Yeah. Insignia.
And they give it to you to signify that you're officially a Marine now.
Yeah, that's right.
You graduated. But entirely, like, boot camp was the single most, like, impactful, life-changing event in my life because, like I said before, I was never really away from, my parents or, my friends or, on my own. And, you're not just on your own, but you're, with people who you've never met before and who are completely different, especially for me, as a Christian, completely different from me. I did meet one other Seventh-day Adventist there, though.
You did meet one.
Yeah, I was happy to sit
Oh,
behind him.
wow.
He was also there as a recruit. So, we exchanged information, but I lost it, unfortunately.
Right.
But yeah, like, we, got everything taken away from us, even like our rights to go to the bathroom. Like you had to ask for
Wow.
everything. And so it just made me like,
During the Crucible or during boot camp?
during the whole experience,
Okay.
especially those first couple weeks, we were herded like cattle
Wow.
because there was so much to do, I guess, and they didn't have little time. So we just were like, we were just disgusting, nasty. But you just appreciate a lot of the little things in life. You take a lot of things for granted, like just even waking up and seeing the sun come up when you are in your bed.
Wow.
Those things, or like, I missed like hearing my mom call my name, just things like that. It sounds silly because, we're all, I was 18, but even like, the older guys, we were all kind of like that. And so it just put things more in perspective. It made me reevaluate like what I really wanted in life. And, that's why I kind of came out of boot camp wanting to go into medical and the medical field, medicine and stuff like that. So yeah, I think everybody should
Dang.
have
A boot camp experience?
some type of boot camp experience where you kind of just, get stripped of all, the luxuries in life. And then you've really, because like, honestly, a lot of the people actually came back to Christ, like went back to God in boot camp. Now, when boot camp was over, they were like,
Just kidding.
They were just, yeah, I know. But like during it, like, a lot of the guys, I think I'm going to get back into it. I think I'm going to go back to church. And then like after
Well,
boot
in a
camp, they're just,
Crucible, you either burn or you become refined.
Exactly.
There is no in between
And so,
in a Crucible.
that is a good point. And so, I felt like boot camp was definitely a crucible that I needed for my
Michael
life.
became a man.
Yeah, first time I shaved was in boot camp. I didn't even know how to shave. I never even shaved before. I think I like cut myself or something. I didn't have any facial hair. By the time I ended boot camp, though, I noticed I was starting to grow. I was like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Physically, literally became a man, huh?
I put on like maybe 30 pounds. I don't know.
Of muscle,
It's a lot of muscle.
No, not muscle. A lot of it was fat. You eat really good in boot camp. Not like the
It
food
sounds
was like
counterintuitive.
not
I
like
see
the
what you're
food
saying.
was like amazing, but you just get 3 full meals a day. Like most kids have never experienced that before. I mean, like I'm not saying I was
Dang.
starving.
No,
when I went
I
to
hear
boot
you,
camp,
though.
but lunch, breakfast, and dinner every day. If you were good, because if you were bad, then sometimes they wouldn't let you eat. But
I didn't know it was like that.
oh yeah, they were crazy. So
Okay.
fun times though.
Yeah. What about you?
Well, for me, it was in 2020. I felt like God was calling me to go visit a friend, and I remember on the way to visit this friend, I stopped in to see another friend in Knoxville. I was on my way to Chat, and
Chattanooga. Oh okay.
and I stopped to go see this friend of mine who's now in Cali, and I just went to go say hi. Like I was there for maybe not even the afternoon, maybe like an hour or less at the time. And I was like, hey, here, let me see what you guys are doing, because he was doing social media for the architecture firm at the time where he worked, and I just so happened to kind of crap on his firm's website and like online presence and social things and like things that they could do, and I kind of crapped on it too. What do you call it? Just kind of venting to him, just kind of what they could fix and things like that. But as it turns out, the owner was listening, and a couple days later, he's like, "Hey, the owner wants to have a chat." And then ever since then, my business, not just from that client, but that was like the one moment that made my business go from I'm a struggling artist to I'm a legitimate web artist.
Oh, wow.
And then I kind of acquired other clients since then, and my business more than tripled, and it's like it was pretty sweet. That's why
That's
you know
awesome.
I'm always pretty thankful for the pandemic. But
Even though a lot of people, died and,
No
we're
big
suffering.
deal.
no big deal.
But I was
But for you, it
successful.
was-
Yeah.
No, I get it.
Today's episode is called Foundational Focus. I wanted to touch on the fact that after, in the last couple of weeks, we've been talking about mental health, and I know we didn't cover everything that we wanted to. There's just way too many things to go over anyway. But specifically today, I want to talk about what preparing logistically for dating actually looks like. So it is in my belief that you can't just wake up one day and say, okay, well, I'm ready to date, and then go out there and expect success. I feel like there's some actual steps that you have to take to be able to, I guess, know kind of what you want. And not only that, but to have any modicum of success and be able to approach it from the right perspective. Like, for example, I feel like emotionally, you got to prepare emotionally to be able to let people in, or, what do you call it? And to be able to share more about yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest step you can take, right? Because when you're dating, you want to get to know somebody, and the other person wants to get to know you too, right? So if you're not even open to letting someone get to know you, what's the point, right? So
Right.
you got to open up that emotional space in order to do that. So, for example, I've been reading the book that you guys already know by name, Calling in the One, and it's talking about that specifically, about preparing emotionally. And like some of the exercises that they do, well, not they do, that they invite people like me to do. In the first week, she actually pushes you to do this exercise where you have to recognize that you need other people in your life and that other people need you. And she talks about doing this meditation practice where you are like envisioning like your family, your friends, the people around you, and as the people come into your mind, like you repeat to yourself, I'm connected to everyone and everything. And like it's a weird practice, and I know some people have mixed feelings about like the meditation practice.
Sounds voodoo.
And I don't believe it's voodoo. But anyway, I tried this meditation practice, and I was actually I noticed that like
so when you meditate, what do you do when you meditate? Sorry.
So there's different ways to meditate. Let's start there. But like for this one, it's just kind of just like sitting in a calm position, probably like eyes closed, and then you kind of just think like deep breathing. And then, for example, for this meditation specifically, you start to think about your family and like the people in your life, and then as those thoughts come up, then you repeat whatever it is which is for the practice calls for. And this one calls for like, I am connected to everyone and everything. And that day I noticed that while I was like, going on about my day, like I would think about this phrase, and it would just come up unconsciously in my mind. And I felt more connected to the people around me, and I would like smile more to strangers or like say hi. So I don't knock it, because the power of the mind is so powerful. And I think personally, as Christians, we should own meditation more than anybody else, in God, not in whatever it is out there.
Appreciate
but as
you clarifying
Christians,
that.
we should own that meditation practice in the foundation of God. And so that's one of the practices. And the other one is where she's talking about setting your intention of like, what is it that you want, right? So then in this meditation practice, the same thing, you're closing your eyes, and then she's like, tells you to like imagine what partner it is you want, right? And then she asks you specific things like, what does he smell like? What does he taste like? What does he feel like? Taste, but like not necessarily like
I'm on board.
I'm thinking G here, dog. Like you think of something else. Anyway, that just like pushes you to think of like the type of partner that you want. And as you start doing that, in a way, you start opening yourself up emotionally, because you're setting that intention. And if you set that intention in your mind, your body acts to it too when you are
like
intentional.
Or it is exactly visualizing it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So I think that is one way that we can, or two ways that we can learn to open up emotionally and realize that we need other people around us, that we can't do everything on our own. You guys know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
that's a biblical principle. God wants us to be connected with each other and to use each other
exactly.
to, lean upon, and for strength and stuff. Even Jesus, he had the 12 disciples with him. Even though they failed him, a number of times, he still would seek them, even in his most trying hour, for prayer and things like that. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Now, you guys have told me before that you've gone on dates, not dating anyone like long term, but you've gone on dates before. Mm-hmm. How open were you guys emotionally on those dates? Because, going on a date and opening yourself up on a first date is totally different than opening yourself up for a relationship. How is it for you guys? Let's hear Mike. I want to hear about you.
Well, I was
do you
going to
remember
say
that one girl you took to the Bucks game? Like, how was it in that one specific one?
Well, see, all the girls that I've taken out before or gone out, girls I've known for years. So it's not like, I mean, there was the one girl that I did just meet off the cuff when I was out of the country, and we just kind of hung out. But it wasn't really, nothing, and for me, I think it's like, I'm pretty an open book anyway.
That's true, yeah.
I can just talk and, just get to know you, or, talk about my personal life and stuff like that. Maybe not share my most inner darkest secrets,
That's for
but
the podcast.
yeah, let's listen to the podcast and you'll hear some of them. But that I've never really struggled with that. So I just kind of, like I'm comfortable with myself, and which is what I was gonna say earlier, or kind of just tagging on to what Abby was saying.
Like Doc was saying,
I think one of the biggest things, and I'm no psychologist, obviously. Like I didn't study psychology. I've taken one psychology class, so not saying that I'm just saying random stuff, but in my experience, one of the ways that's helped me like open up to people and be able to talk is just accepting who I am as a person, and like accepting like the mistakes that I've made in the past, and just like accepting, where I have come from, not being ashamed of, my past, not being ashamed of who I am, because people want to make us feel like, we're insufficient or, just lacking in other areas, or we're not good enough. I'm just comfortable with who I am. I'm proud of, where I've come from, and the accomplishments I've made. I'm okay with being the nerdy guy or the guy who likes to, do SpongeBob references.
Nerd is in, man. Nerd is in. It's really hot.
A lot of people may say otherwise.
Don't lie to the man, please.
See?
Yo.
But I could care less. So, once you accept who you are, and this goes back to also being founded in Christ.
Yes.
Just knowing that Christ is the one who gives you value, and we're all different. We're all unique. Nobody is perfect. Then for me, it's just easy to just like open up. I can
now
be myself to someone who, I've never really met before. And there's levels to it. I'm not just saying, I'm just going to be like, boom, here I am. Like Benny. But
now let me say that, opening yourself up and being open about who you are is one step. But I think, in fact, I know that being, letting people in emotionally is a completely different animal. Abby, have you ever let anyone in into your Carcota zone?
I mean, I feel like there are different stages of letting people in. For example, on a first date, you're not giving someone full access, right? That's something that with time comes along. So I feel like to the point of, like, let's say I've gone 3 dates or 2 dates with a person, I feel like I have been able to let them in enough to that point, not give too much, because like, I mean, come on, like the first 3 dates are like, it's more of like figuring out if you can even have fun with this person, right? They're not like,
I think fun should be priority number
like,
one.
it's not so serious,
like
right?
dates,
It's not like trauma dumping on the first day, like this is everything that's wrong with me.
So when we say like opening up emotionally, like when you're saying emotions, like are you talking about just like,
I think it's just being vulnerable.
Is that what you mean, or are you talking
but also
about
like being able to sit with someone's vulnerability and accepting that the more you open yourself up, and that the more that they open themselves up to you,
who you
emotionally,
are?
just emotionally and vulnerability, that opening up like kind of breeds a certain like magnetism, to where like you're tend to open more or open up more to someone who's also open. So I mean, it kind of goes back to mirroring and things like that. So
Okay, so just like being more vulnerable, like not like, I guess, being cold and stuff like that. Is that what you mean? Like kind of just,
I mean, yes and no.
Yeah.
okay.
It's more of just being who you are,
Okay.
and showing the appropriate emotion for whatever it is you're talking about at that
Okay.
time.
So what would be an example of
and
not
also being
open?
honest. Oh, well, like, okay, so being disingenuous about who you are. So like, I tend to be very, very happy-go-lucky. I have a high energy, but I also have my points and my times where, don't come around me. I'm in my zone. Like,
Okay.
so like,
So if you're on a date and a girl's trying to talk to you, Or
Okay,
you're like on a third date and a girl's trying to...
I'll put it to you this way.
Yeah.
If I'm on a date and a client needs something urgent, like the client is much more important. If it's urgent, than the girl right now. That's in my opinion. So like I would say, hey, listen, this is unconventional and this is probably not the thing I need to do right now, but this is something urgent that I need to take care of. So
you're closed emotionally in that point? Is that what you're saying?
Flag,
well, no,
ladies.
like, I just make sure that I put my priorities in order. Well, I would hear like...
Well, I was asking for...
Well, for example, if I go on a date with a guy for 1 hour and dude can't even wait 15 minutes until like the date's over. I didn't say I couldn't wait
15 minutes. I'm just saying
no,
if I have to deal with it as an emergency, can't be...
Well, I was trying to figure out what would be an example of a closed like if you're closed emotionally, like you're. That's what I was trying to get to.
Oh, I see. So like maybe not being honest about how you felt about your past relationship. It's like, oh, so like how did it end with the other person? Oh, it was it ended amicably. We're still friends.
Or it could just be as simple as like when someone asks like, how was your day? You just say good, right? It's not being genuine with your responses. Or it could just be...
Or not being specific about it.
Or you're just being like on surface level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
And a lot of the times it comes down to, I think, the energy that you have. Mm-hmm. Like some people, you can be telling a very deep story, but like if you have a detached mentality, there's not as much vulnerability as you think.
Right.
So,
I don't know about you guys, but I tend to, I'm a pretty emotional guy to my core. I'm just that kind of guy, which is kind of a duality about me. But in that duality, or in that vulnerability, I should say, I find it kind of a necessity, or not even a necessity, but I just find myself sometimes not letting people in emotionally, just because it requires a responsibility for somebody to open up to you that you now have to, be respond to and be attentive to and things like that. So I don't know about you, but I'm kind of cautious of letting people in sometimes. Just because it is a responsibility that if I don't really think it's going somewhere, I don't really want to carry that weight or feel like the person feel like they share too much or something like that.
That's interesting. So you're saying like you don't want to open up. You're careful to open up because like if you open up and they don't like you, then No. Oh, okay.
I'm careful about them opening up to me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I would ask like not as deep of questions. Like I would keep things like somewhat superficial, but not always, but just enough to where they could feel like seen and heard, but not like they were super vulnerable to where now they feel like I'm one of their trustees to their emotions.
So are you saying is that just strategy?
Is that weird? Are you guys like?
Well, I don't know.
Does that happen to you?
Well, I want from your perspective. Are you using that as a strategy, or is that just something you just do, but you don't really want to, but it just happens naturally?
Okay, no, that's conscious. It's definitely conscious.
Okay, is that a good thing?
Yeah. Is it coming from a place of fear? Because what makes you think that the other person
I guess
sharing...
I don't want... Like, I guess, like if I know I'm not going to invest equally emotionally, I don't want... Or I should say, I don't want to put in a person in a place where they share that stuff.
Like I get you.
To where I don't want people to invest in a place emotionally where I'm not even ready to go.
But wouldn't you say you're taking away the right?
Because
it's the right to share whatever it is they want to share, right? Because sure, you might not be ready to invest at that level, but at the end of the day, you have to give the other person the choice. Because sure, you're not able to, and they could share with you, but that doesn't mean they're going to be attached to you like they're confidant.
No, I think you're no. I think you're right, and it's not that I like try to stop them. I just don't put myself in positions to where
I can see.
Like for example, if I'm on a first date, I honestly wouldn't ask about it like an ex.
But I mean,
maybe
come on.
On the second date.
That's the first date. You don't ask those type of questions on a first date.
Unless it just comes up, unless she brings it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like, my ex-boyfriend never did this, or never went out.
Even if she does, I'd hear her, but I wouldn't go any deeper. if I'm not ready to emotionally commit to the same
You're
level.
like, this food is good.
Yeah, because I mean,
No.
because I mean, on the first date, you're trying to see if you even can enjoy this person's company.
Right.
Like you're not getting into that nitty gritty.
Yeah, like so, like the difference
Most
would be
of the
like, well, tell me more about that, or how was that past relationship? Instead of saying that, like, let's say she said, well, my boyfriend was terrible, I'd be like, damn, I'm sorry, I feel like that must have hurt you in a way that you didn't expect. See, so I'm keeping it on her, but I'm not going like I'm not asking her to invest like her past and her emotionality and how that goes if I'm not ready to go there. I mean, I guess in the name of keeping her heart, but I don't know if you guys like. I mean, I feel like you guys are different. So
I mean, it's different for everybody. But I think biggest way to open yourself up emotionally is to start with yourself, and to be honest with yourself. A lot of the times we talk about what we need from others, but we don't supply those needs to our own selves. For example, if we want honesty, why aren't we honest with ourselves? If we want respect, why aren't we respecting ourselves? You know, like, you wouldn't let someone disrespect you by talking badly to you. Why are you talking badly to yourself? So by being integral to who you are and like what your needs are to yourself, I feel like you are in a better position and more open to receive it from other people too, because you already have it. And as Christians, God is our helper in everything. He helps us not only open ourselves up to him, but he also helps us open ourselves up to other people and to give and receive love, because you don't need a relationship to start doing that. You can start doing that right now with the people that are around you, with God. So I think just being honest with yourself about what it is that you want and start giving it to yourself and to other people as if it's already true, right? Because another thing that like the book talks about is about manifestations, and I know Josh probably doesn't like that word, and that also sounds kind of voodoo, whatever people call it. But manifestation is a huge thing, and I think with the way you frame it or where you come from determines how you go about your practice.
Sure,
so
true.
As Christians, you know, that's, I think manifestation is kind of faith, believing that you receive the promise, you know. So God says, like we've said before, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. So if you're seeking God by faith, you're kind of manifesting that, you know, all the good things are going to happen. So for example, if it is in your desire to have a partner, it's going to happen. So like, you know, it's like that faith, that manifestation, I think. And that leads me to my question for you guys. So imagine that you guys have a partner and that you're loved and you are fully accepted, respected, and you're completely like safe, right?
I'm having a hard time imagining this.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Wait, are you serious? Or
Yeah, I mean,
I'm curious.
that can be hard.
That was hilarious.
Thank you for your honesty. No, but that can be hard.
Completely like safe and respected. I must be in heaven. No.
I mean, it can be hard to imagine, Michael, and sometimes it takes some work, and I feel like that's when faith comes in and God comes in, where we believe his promises that are true. So imagine you guys have all that, right? You have your partner.
Okay.
You're perfectly safe.
Okay, my eyes are closed. I'm imagining.
Close your eyes, Mike. This
All right,
may
I'm
help
ready.
you guys,
It's
okay?
even hard in
I'm
my
ready.
dreams.
All right, so imagine the girl of your dreams right now, okay?
Got it.
Whatever she may look like. So I'll just ask you some questions here so you guys can draw it more in your mind. So what does she sound like? You guys got it? What does she sound like in your mind?
Yes, got it.
Yeah? Okay.
Jeez.
So what does she smell like? Yeah?
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. And what does she taste like? Or like, for example.
I gotta open my eyes for that one. I'm gonna go down a path.
All right. Anyway, okay. So this partner, right? Okay.
I
So
gotta protect myself.
now that you guys have this person in your mind, okay, so how do you guys act? How do you act? Being fully, perfectly loved, perfectly accepted, how do you guys approach the world?
From a confident and aggressive perspective.
Michael, how would you approach the world knowing you have all of this?
I would just be like, yeah, super confident, just super assured in who I am, not caring what people think or say, and just like go home and just be like, this is great.
So how would you guys act around your family and friends from this mentality? Would it change the way you act around your family and friends?
If they respected me, or you talking about
No,
like
let's say you're dating that girl right now.
Like you're dating the girl right now,
how
you're
would
feeling
your
more
relationship with your
confident,
family
more whatever. Does
would-
it change how you approach life?
honestly,
a little bit for me, yeah, for sure.
How so?
I guess I would spend less time with them. I mean, I spend a lot of time with you guys now,
Okay.
so I feel like I spend way less time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like I would probably be just more aware and acute and like I would be like more aware of things that my family did that would probably, make me unhappy because if my girlfriend or my wife is treating me like a king, I would be like, well, what's wrong with you guys?
my family.
Right?
So you would
Like,
probably
what is wrong with you guys?
you'd
Like,
probably
stop
more-
it.
The peasant treatment.
You'd be more assertive of your needs and stuff. Like y'all need to stop, right?
Yeah, I guess I'd be more assertive.
Okay.
Yeah,
Y'all need to step up.
right? Start
Oh.
loving me more.
Okay. So now that you guys have all that, name one way that you can show up like that today. You don't have the partner yet. But what is one way that you can start by faith showing up in a more confident way, in a more aggressive way, Josh, like how you said, in a more assertive way, Michael? How can you start living that today?
I mean, like in my case, I would start taking more risks.
Okay.
And I'm already a huge risk taker. It's kind of just who I am. But I would take risks in an area where I'm not comfortable taking risks. Like, for example, slowing the down. I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
So slowing down would be a huge risk, and just got to learn how to do that and just play the long game. I mean, I don't know how that ties in, but I guess that's what came to mind. I don't know.
So maybe you can find one way to do that. Start doing that today, right? Because why not
Like
start?
sitting down and doing my master's on a regular basis, and that takes a long time, just sitting at a computer and not exciting, like out there traveling, taking pictures on a boat, etc., etc., etc. It's such a complete shift of perspective in life. I don't like it, but I gotta do it.
Yeah. So like when I did this practice myself, like I came up with the fact that if I had all of these things, I feel like I would be a more lighter person and more
That is the exact opposite of what Michael and I said, which is interesting.
Grace. I feel like I'd be more grace giving and more curious, and because knowing that I'm coming from a safe place, and I have this partner that's like my home, right? So it's just like exercises like these that I feel like put you in the mindset of visualizing what it is that
what
you
a bestie
want
can look like.
and how you can start implementing it in your life. That way you're starting to work on yourself before that other person comes, and then when you start dating, you're more open emotionally.
I would think for me, I would like be the opposite of you. I would probably take less risks, not so much in like
Interesting.
the
Okay.
practical days or things of life, like maybe going somewhere, but like just like mentally and spiritually, because I feel like, because I'm seeking more affirmation from people or want more people to see me in a certain light, I would like take more risks in doing things or trying things or whatever. But if I know, I'm, I guess, loved and accepted and things like that, then I would just be like, I'm just going to stay.
Back, slow
I'm
down
just
a
going to
little bit.
stay where I'm at, like I
I'd
have
be
my
completely
people.
the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
and it's
that's kind of what I think, you know.
And it's different for men and women, right?
Right,
You know how
right.
Josh, you said that like it's totally different. From what I said is totally different from what you and Mike said.
Yeah, we should be more confident and more kind of assertive. And you said I'd be so chill and light.
Like in the sense of like just more happy because, and I feel like that just goes to show like the female perspective, right? Where especially if you believe that the guy's the head of the home, or you know the guy is like that foundation of like that safety. So like no wonder you guys would be more. You have to be more confident and more of like macho of like we got this baby, whereas the girl
Darn
is
right.
more
We
of
got
just
this
like
baby.
you know. More nurturing and just more light and grace giving and just giving. So it's just two different things of how we would react. So
I think another point to getting ready emotionally is to know what your emotional needs are. So we talked about getting through the mentals and doing the work, but I think like people need to know, like for example, what their what do you call it, love languages. You need to know that stuff so that you can like approach a relationship with a game plan of this is how I'm going to communicate what I need, and even if this person is compatible for me for that to happen. So for example, I am huge on physical touch. I just like to touch everything I see.
I know. I know.
toucher.
I take pride in like when I go to museums and it says "do not touch," I take pride in like just like
You are a
just like
lawbreaker.
sneaking, sneaking a little tap or something like that. But if I know that I need physical touch, I can't marry somebody who's recalcitrant and who's reluctant.
Recalcitrant.
Big words tonight, Mike.
Recalcitrant. Okay.
Big words.
Interesting.
to touch, or it's hard for them to to show love in that way. But if they don't know that, it's going to be hard. Or knowing if you like words of affirmation, but the other person's not a talker, they're more of a shower. You need to be able to communicate that, and you need to know how to show that. And I think it's not just about you. You need to know what the other person's language is, so that they too can feel loved and seen. And it's not to say that people who love touch can't marry somebody who doesn't love touch, because people can adjust and things like that. But my point is you'd want to maximize your chances of marrying somebody who's more or less more compatible with you. And if you don't know yourself emotionally that way, I feel like you're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree? I don't know.
No, I agree. That's why I was talking earlier about like honoring what you need from others to yourselves first. So that way it's even more ingrained in your mind when you do go talk to someone else. And if they don't give that to you, you're even stronger to walk away knowing that you give it to yourself, and you also receive all the things you need from God too.
Yeah.
But if you're not even giving it to yourself, no wonder that people take crumbs.
Yeah. I feel like, okay, so another thing that people need to like logistically point out and to just kind of take advantage of and really make a mental point to prioritize is making time to date. I feel like people don't actually realize how much actual time it takes to find someone. And especially in our Adventist context where we don't have an app to meet people. If there isn't anyone at your local church who you're interested in, or anyone in your local area, you're kind of screwed. In the most simplistic of ways, but you got to put in the work, man. Like if there isn't anyone near you, you have to plan the time to travel. And that doesn't just mean like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to go here for a weekend. It's okay, I have to set aside time away from my church to do this. Like Mike, you're the best example of this. You're putting time into your church right now that you're not putting into your dating. And that's a conscious decision that you're making. And that's a decision that you're okay with right now because you're prioritizing your church plant. And that's a decision that you're okay with, and that's fine for you. But if there are, I guess what I'm saying is you have to make conscious the fact that it takes time to find people, be it travel time. Like, for example, for us, we've mentioned a couple times that, you know, the most attractive Adventist people we've found are California. So,
not me. I mean, it's all over, man.
Mike is
Australia,
Mike
Canada.
Canada type of guy.
Europe, Africa.
You
There's
never met a
players everywhere.
Wait, who have you met from Europe? Or at least you've never told me about a girl you've met from Europe.
I mean, on mission trips, I've met people from Europe.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So,
Yeah. But the point is, specifically how you mentioned that everybody that you seem to like and who tends to like you is from far away, you have to factor that in. But and if you're going to be serious about dating, you have to be serious about putting in the time to make it happen. And I'll put it like this way too. Since we just mentioned, like, let's say I do meet a girl from California who, you know, I fall head over heels for, and she falls head over heels. I can't be with you guys a lot anymore. I have to be now planning my time, you know, accordingly to make sure that whatever spark is there is kindled and actually has flames and has fuel, I should say, to ignite and to continue happening. Now, that's if I don't want to move there.
But I also feel like also you have to take into consideration the balance of everything, right? Because, okay, let's say you meet someone in California, and you want to be intentional about it. You can't just give her all your time. Like, you can't just put your life on hold. Like, you still need to spend time with your friends and your family, because that's a huge thing that happens when people get into relationships. Like, they completely disregard their family, they completely disregard their friends, and then when it doesn't work out, they want to come back and they want to be like, I'm back. And it's like, and you expect people to like give you all the time in the world again. It's like, dude, like you completely disregarded us.
Well, in that case, like if you're completely neglecting, but like I think it's like understood that you're gonna spend more time.
But I feel like it's so easy for that to happen, to that neglect to happen.
Well, then if that happens, then you know there's like some issues going on in the relationship. If you're like neglecting internally or with the person you're dating, they may be toxic and they're like, I need you here all the time, or you know. Also, it can be very. That's not a healthy.
But I think it can be natural sometimes to neglect because, like, let's say when you really like someone, you want to spend all your time with them. You know, like let's say if you like a new chocolate or something, you want to eat the whole bag. So like it can it can be not. It doesn't have to be toxic for you to want to spend all your time with someone that you like and you're getting to know. So I feel like you gotta hold yourself in check a lot of the times. About being conscious of like, I am a holistic person. My family, my friends, they are part of who I am. And if I neglect this area, it's going to show in my relationship too.
Would you agree though that long distance would shift that balance? Because it does require more intention and more time.
I would say it requires less time if you're long distance because you just kind of have already accepted that.
No. Assuming that I have the money to go and visit every other weekend.
Oh, well, I mean, how long distance are we talking? That's also another thing.
Well, I'm talking Wisconsin to California.
Oh, if you're wanting to go visit and travel. Yeah, I mean, every relationship is different, but I feel like you have to be conscious about that.
I mean, you're going every weekend?
No, hell no.
Might as well just live.
No,
yeah, right? Because like, especially if you're beginning to date someone, they do not get all of your time.
Okay, but weekends aren't all of your time.
Yeah, I know, but like going to travel to California, that's a huge investment. I don't know, for me personally, like I am open to dating someone.
Would you go once a month?
Yeah, but I would not do that right away. That is something that is investment of mine that is earned.
I said specifically if we're heels over head. So
like you've been talking for a couple months, you've been dating for a couple months type of thing, right?
Okay, a couple months. Like I mean, I would hope you would go see each other sooner than a couple months.
No, I know. I guess what I'm trying to say is like going to travel, like it's a huge financial investment. It's a huge time investment, and time is earned. Like a lot of the times we just like give our time for free, and like this person hasn't even earned it yet. I'm not saying. I heard
this saying one time, which is like, don't invest in a girl more time than you've been with her. So if you've like been with a girl for 2 months, you don't plan longer than 2 months ahead, and so on and so forth.
That's a good way to look about it,
I
kind
feel like
of.
that's a good rule of thumb to where that way you don't kind of get in your head and you have a rule of thumb of, okay, well, this is how I'm going to, like, these are my limits.
Only
So
person
where,
you
like,
should do that for is Jesus.
what, do longer than...
Yeah.
Like, I
yeah.
mean, you've only been alive for 20 years, but Jesus is telling you to think of eternity with
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
you
You're
know?
investing eternity with God.
That's the only person
That's the
should-
only
So
person.
I'm
that-
agreeing
Abby and
with
I, for example-
with your statement though.
Yes,
Yeah.
like Abby and I, for example, like I personally wasn't always like this, but I kind of turned into a planner to where we're thinking months and months and months ahead of, like, for example, we went to DC in May. That we talked about that since last year,
Yeah.
or no, that's not even true. January, I think you texted me, you're like, I'm gonna go to these places this year,
Well, yeah, because
but I do that too. I put exactly where I'm gonna go and when I'm gonna go, like December or even like November or something like that.
and I don't think anything is wrong with that, because the older you are, I feel like the more you need to learn how to manage your time and to plan these things out, because the less planning you have, the less likely that it's going to be a success.
I think
Yeah.
like when it comes to a relationship, I think in any relationship, honestly, it shouldn't come between your family, God, and your like passions.
I agree, 100%.
You know, like if like we get it, like, you know, there's gonna be a change because you're adding someone into your life, so you're gonna have to divvy up the time.
Yeah.
Number one, your most time should go to God. Okay.
Yes.
Hands down, doesn't matter who it is. But like, you know, when it comes between your family, like it shouldn't feel like your family shouldn't feel that your presence isn't there anymore.
No, they shouldn't.
Right.
You know,
Because that's
If-
when you know something's wrong.
exactly.
Right.
You know, and
Right.
you shouldn't be driven away from your passions, your goals in life.
Because that's what makes
That's
you who you
a
are.
bad- exactly.
Not the person.
Exactly.
They're just like an add-on. They're just I mean, not just, but you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying.
So, you know, whatever, you know, however you divvy up your time, it shouldn't lead you away from those three core things about who you are: your God, family, and, you know, who you are as a person.
That's
you know, whether it be your
saying-
passion or career or whatever it is.
That your partner or
Agreed.
whoever you're dating is never going to be number one. They're never going to be number one. God is number one.
That's what, yeah.
God
But
is
like,
number one. And
Okay.
then
Yeah, definitely dating. But when you
I'm
get
not saying
married,
your family.
that
I'm not,
has to shift.
I'm not.
though.
Yeah, I'm not saying like your wife wouldn't be. You're not spending more time. You're gonna spend more time with your wife than
because that's
anybody
now,
else.
Because that's now your family.
Exactly,
so to
exactly,
speak.
exactly. But I'm saying it shouldn't come to a point where your
one or the other.
parents or your siblings or your best friends
Yeah.
feel a gap. Like, oh man, he's not a part of our life anymore.
yeah.
Agreed.
You know, there should still be a presence in your life. You know, there
Yeah.
should still be, you know, your parents should still, you know, know that they're loved.
Yes.
You know,
But know that dating will take.
that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
It
you
will
know,
take some
I'm
time
not getting
away.
into like
Naturally.
the specific time, like hour. I'm not looking
For
at like
example.
the time, but just the feeling, because you could feel when someone's, you know, a part of your
There.
life or when they want to be a part of your life, and you can feel when someone doesn't.
Doesn't,
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't like, I don't know how to like measure it, but you can just like feel it.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
I mean, another way in which putting time towards dating can affect, I guess, your personal life, and that you need to just be conscious of that is, for example, this, like in Adventism, we have GYC. Every year that comes at the beginning, in the new year. I don't know, man. I love the holidays, and I like to spend those with my family. The fact that I'm going to be spending them with, you know, I mean, I don't want to say strangers, but I want to say strangers. Is
Brothers and sisters in
is a
Christ.
thank you. Is a commitment that you have to consciously make.
Yeah.
Like Mike, you and I went this past year. Had I not gone with you, I don't think I would have enjoyed it.
I probably wouldn't have went. I wasn't gonna go. I'm
I
not
mean,
just
let's
gonna
be
go.
real. GYC is.
It's
for
hard
us,
to
it's been
go
hit or miss.
Well, it's
It's
hard
been
to
hit or
go
miss.
if you're alone. Like if you're alone and you go by yourself,
That's the worst.
it's
Not
the
only
worst.
that, like the format is just sometimes not for everyone.
And it's not conducive to.
It's not conducive to meeting people. Yeah.
which is the worst. Like,
Yeah, 'cause- yeah.
like we have the added benefit that we're outgoing and that we're friendly.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like
It's easier,
It can
but
be
it's still
beneficial.
it's still kind of awkward too, because
Yeah.
people are just so much of a hermit sometimes. They just
Yeah.
stay in their shell, and
that's
it's hard to do.
I
It's
don't know.
because you
That's so
forget you need
pathetic.
you need other people. You're emotionally closed off.
I think that's one way in which, like, like the church has been neglecting, talking about dating, and I use the word church loosely here. We've kind of been neglecting you need to actually learn how to socialize and meet with people. And that when you're or at least it is my view, when you're at an event like GYC, like the investment shouldn't just be to going and sitting down and listening to sermons. Like you can do that at home, yo.
Yeah.
Like the point is should be to engage with and find places to, what do you call it? Spend time with and kick it and with other people. I don't know, specifically like those of your age. In theory,
I agree.
Which would be a great,
I agree. GYC is a great event. It's a great spiritual event, but I feel like sometimes it's not balanced in the way you're saying that. It's not just spiritual food that you need. You need community and making that space for it. Sometimes we need to make that more of a priority. So if anybody's listening from the committee, I'm just kidding.
So I had this idea, and I guess we all had this idea. What if there was a really attractive, really well put together dating event during GYC? I feel like that would be
just
an amazing proposition.
Kind of like a meetup event.
And like a mingle.
Like a huge,
mingle event.
yeah, mingle.
I'm saying you're coming to just date. But the idea is that you would meet, hopefully, somebody.
Yeah.
It'd be fun in an
interesting,
unpressured
sure.
type of way. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah. Everybody's already there. It's already during New Year's, so you have like the holiday atmosphere. You're an adult, presumably. So go out, have dinner and go to a cool event. I think that would be awesome. I think so too. If that existed, would your view on GYC change?
Yes, for sure.
100%.
And not just for dating, just for getting to know other people.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the missing piece for me personally for GYC. But
yeah. Because you go from seminar to maybe catching someone in the hallway to seminar to a plenary session where you go sit again. And if you don't go out of your way to meet someone, you're not going to meet someone. And again, I'm not even talking in a romantic sense. I'm just talking about like friends in general.
Yeah, like I said, if you came by yourself, you're going to have a hard time trying to make friends because you're just going to be alone and you're just going to be like, oh, hello, can I sit here? And then you got to go through all that.
Yeah.
But going back to kind of how how you need to invest time, like assuming like you're in California and there are Adventist people there, you need to know how to plan ahead. Like if you're a doctor and you're in med school, and you work 2 jobs or you work nights, you need to just accept the fact or plan around and know that dating is going to be harder for you. Yeah. Because people do life and during the day.
Sometimes, when we talk about time, sometimes your life has to be at the right time.
Right.
Sometimes all the time. I've heard doctors tell me all the time, I met my wife here, timing. And then these are doctors that I haven't even met before, but, I've told them, this is what I want to do. And they just kind of tell me their life story. And they always talk about timing when it came to meeting their wife.
At Heartland, at Heartland near DC, where I went to, they had a rule where you couldn't date while you're there. And I think their reasoning is because you're supposed to be investing that time
with God
with God
That's
into your career or something like that. I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I was just like,
it's hard.
But Mike is right. You need to be in a good place timing wise in your life.
But at least they tell you that straight up. It's not like you go there and then they're like, no. At least they tell you that.
You're telling me that you're gonna be placed with godly, beautiful women, and you're gonna be like, nah, let's not get to know each other. Let's wait 4 years so that you can then go off to wherever you came from or wherever you're going to, and then I'll go off wherever I'm from or where I'm going to, and completely disregard and completely throw that away.
It depends if those are the people.
Sounds like a complete L.
If those are the people that are there, that's obviously not for everyone.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, and usually
it's for people, I guess, who are hardcore
And
you
they're
know, into mission, into ministry.
Yeah.
You know, so I get
whatever
that.
mindset it is you have going
But,
in
yeah.
is going to be depending. But I get what you're saying, Josh.
Yeah,
It's,
like for
shouldn't
most
be
people,
a-
that's not going to work.
I don't think it should be a rule because
Agreed.
it's just, I don't think it's biblical.
Well,
to make
it's just,
sure-
it's just a
to meet
4-year
people.
period. But I mean, like,
Yeah, but still, like,
they're not
Mike,
telling people not
it's
to
during
get
the
married.
4 years of your life where you're going to be with actual Adventists around you most of the time.
That's why I said it's not
Yeah.
for everyone. They're telling you straight up, like,
No,
we don't
it's
want
not.
you to date here.
But do you
I'm not
really
gonna-
want that to be like
not-
like a tenant of your school to be like, oh,
Not me.
this is where you come if you're not going to date. You're going to come in here and devote 100% of your time to ministry, and that's it.
If that's what you want,
yeah. So
Sure.
if that's what you want, that's what you want.
that's what you want. Just depends on
Wow.
what you want. For like I said, it's not
Agree
going to
to
work for a lot of
disagree.
people. But you know,
I think it should be more.
I appreciate where they're trying to come from. I wouldn't go there. You know, and even though I love ministry and I love, like, you know, doing you know, stuff like that, but yeah, you know, I like to meet people. And if I fall in love with a
Absolutely.
girl and I can't, like, hold her
It's
hand,
like, hey, you know what? Let me drop out so then we can date. What is this?
Yeah.
but
Come on now.
who would
I
tell? How would you even know?
I think
Like,
sometimes.
I would just keep it. I would just lie. I would just like, no, we're not dating.
Oh, right. Let's engage in thou shalt not commit false testimony.
We're not dating. We just like each other a lot, but we're not dating.
We're not dating. We're just non-exclusive friends who
Yeah,
See,
hold hands.
we
that's,
just
that's why I think it
So?
shouldn't be a rule. I think it's more
Yeah, no, it's
of
kinda-
it should be taught
Pause.
more of like you got to make God first, and you're here for God. And if you happen to meet someone, it's cool. But at the end of the day, you got to keep your priorities in check. You got to be able to trust people. You got to be able to trust the adults. And if they're not putting up, and if it's not showing up, then yeah, you could probably get kicked out. But I don't think it should be a rule.
Agreed.
But
Here, I'll kind of wrap up the whole timing thing.
can I
'cause-
say something before you wrap it up?
Please.
Have you guys heard of the 3 days in one thing before?
Yes. I hear it from you every week, at least once.
Yeah. So it's something I heard about from this guy
It's not
called
a bad concept.
Ed Milet. Anyway, the way he talks about it is he divides his day in 3. So 8. He starts it at like 5 a.m. Anyway, I saw a reel recently where like it just divides up the 8 hours, where like 8 hours for work, 8 hours for family, 8 hours for like your
You.
partner or whatever. I just feel like not necessarily you gotta do that per se in your life, but I think it's a good rule of thumb, or it can be a good guide to show you how you're investing your time, because you have 24 hours in a day. Sure, you're sleeping for 8, but what are you doing with the rest, you know? Because a lot of the times if you look back to how you spent all the hours in your day, it kind of makes you sad.
Kind of pathetic.
But if you make it more intentional about like, I'm going to spend this much time with my family or friends, this much time in work or passions, like you can actually go back and say like, yeah, I am living up to what I want to become, and I am living up to what God has planned me to become. So I think that's a cool thought.
Do you guys feel like you're devoting your time wisely if you want to date?
What was the question?
Do you guys feel like you're devoting your time wisely to prioritize dating right now?
I have open slots on my calendar. So
Okay.
I feel like, I mean, with where I'm at in life, you know, I just feel like, you know, being in ministry and, you know,
Working,
all the other aspects, working,
med school coming
that
up.
would, I think, like because I want to find a person who's also on fire in those things, right?
Okay.
You know, so I would hope, ideally, that, you know, when I'm doing ministry, when I'm doing missionary work, when I'm studying medicine, that person would be involved in some of those things.
makes sense.
So, like, I feel like I would find my time in finding someone is actually doing those things. Like, that's kind of how I view. Am I wisely doing using my time? Like, my time to find a spouse is actually the same time I use to serve God.
Yeah.
That's how I kind of see it.
It's kind of
I mean,
like
I see
how
where
we
you're coming
talked about
from.
of like living
Yeah.
to bless, like
Yeah.
live your daily life
Yeah.
and, you know, whatever comes along.
Yeah,
kind
because
of.
obviously, you know, you're gonna want to have that time to, you know, hang out and stuff. But I feel like for me, a lot of the time that, and I'll use an example. Hopefully they'll listen to this.
Their names are going to be bleeped out, so
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. Do we have to bleep their names out?
we're gonna.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, good friends of ours. They're they're in this. They live here in Milwaukee, and they're really involved in the you know, the young adult youth ministry of this area. But I remember my friend. He told me how he met her, and he's a doctor, and his wife is a dentist. Great people, by the way. But they met just like in a group setting. Actually, they were in school. They both went to Loma Linda, and
California.
They were
telling
studying
ya.
together in a group, and over time, he just started to develop feelings, and you know, he didn't really like say anything for a while, but you know, he was telling me like how, you know, he wanted to like, you know, get away from the group and just have her study with him himself, and that was funny. And so like he was finally able to do that, and then like when he told her his feelings, she wasn't even aware that he had those feelings. But then it worked out because they were both on fire for God, and they were both like in their, you know, profession, like studying, trying to be a dentist, trying to be a doctor, and so they found each other that way.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like his situation is a little bit different, and I wanted to put a caveat, which is you can live out your, you know, your mission, you can do your stuff, but if you do it in a bubble, you're not going to find that person in your bubble.
But he wasn't in a bubble.
Well, exactly, but I feel like someone in a small town who only stays in the small town a lot of times and who doesn't expand, that is a bubble.
But I would also want to add that when you are living your life intentionally and you're doing your work and whatever God has called you to do, God will place you in those moments. Like, you know, something about being intentional about what you want. Like non-Christian believers says, the universe makes a way. God makes a way, you know, like, but you got to have that intentionality. Something does happen. Like, it works.
But it could also, you could also look at it from this perspective, because, you know, a lot of times when, you know, we're looking for that person, you know, and we're not really being, you know, and this is a Christian, purely Christian perspective, you know, going back to that example with our two friends, you know, if he wasn't like founded in Christ and hadn't been, you know, in a good relationship with Christ, he would have never even been attracted to her.
You don't think so?
You think so?
No.
Why not?
Because she was like in Christ. She was, you know, living her life for Christ. If he wasn't,
So you're saying that was the only
he
thing
would have
that
been attracted.
him?
Well, that's what drew them together, their love for ministry.
The group. He wouldn't have been in the group if he wasn't.
That's what I'm saying. And so, like, you know, there could be people in our lives already that we just maybe not be noticing because, you know, we're probably too focused on actually trying to find that date or trying to put that time aside, when, you know, if we put our time towards God, our minds, our likes, our attraction even will change. And then that person that we didn't even notice all of a sudden is there, and they've been there the whole time.
That could
and so
happen.
then it could work that way.
They say, well, I don't know, I'm probably gonna botch this, but that they say that by a certain age you have met the person you're gonna be with. Somehow, some way.
I remember
Good thing I've been traveling the last couple of years.
Somehow she's somewhere. You better probably, but who
that's
knows?
a good point. You know, I mean, obviously you're gonna meet her. You know,
Yeah.
so I just remember Greg Jennings. He used to be the Packers wide receiver,
8'5".
and he told, like, in an interview that he was in kindergarten and met his wife.
Aww.
And they got married.
Some
But it was
people
just
have
so
all
funny.
their
Like,
That's just luck.
he's like in diapers, trying, you know, supposed to get an education, and he's looking for a wife.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I mean, it worked. That was just his story.
he
that
started
was
young.
just funny, though.
It's on us. We didn't start young.
Okay, so a couple of weeks ago, remember we talked about how, like, if we, like, like if we met someone, would be re- would be re-
Would we be ready?
Thank you. To date, Mike and I said no. Mike, do you feel like that's still the case? Because
what was the question again?
Like if we met someone, like
Yeah.
would we be? I can't speak today for whatever reason.
Will we be ready to date?
Yes.
Yes, in terms of timing, because like I'll put it to you this way: like this is something I've been thinking about with my business, my masters, and now tennis that I've added to the roster. I'm not like I don't know how I can fit someone in right now, and that's a weird thought that I had this week, because I'm really enjoying my life. I mean, I'm not particularly enjoying like certain parts of studying and whatever, but I find it so interesting how like that thought came across my head where I don't know where I could fit them in.
Fit them into doing what exactly?
Into the calendar.
Just into my calendar, into
to
my
make
life.
time.
Well, I mean,
So it's a no for you still.
It is.
well, I
but-
feel like if it's the right
but like I
person
said,
though.
my point is like I'm not 100% sure how to make it a yes. Like what needs to be sacrificed in order.
Well, that's the
Well,
thing.
maybe-
I don't think
know.
they,
What
I don't
needs to
think
be
it would.
sacrificed is not waking up at 10 a.m.
I
I
don't
mean,
wake
I don't,
up
I
at
don't know
10
what time
a.m.
you wake up, but I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Shots fired.
I don't
No,
wake
no,
up
no.
at
It's
10
not,
a.m.
not about him. It's just like, you need to reorient your day, maybe.
But here's what I would say: if it's the right person, you're not going to need to sacrifice any of those aspects of your life.
No, of course not.
Like obviously, there's going to be parts, where you're going to have to, add them in, and you're going to have to divvy up the time. But
Bro, I think you're
there's not going to be.
underestimating how much time. Like
I know, but I'm saying it's the right person though. They're not going to take you away from your career. If it's the
And-
right person, they're not going to take you away from your passions, your desires.
No.
They're not going to take you away from God. Sorry, go ahead.
And like I was saying earlier, like a relationship, you don't invest that much time at first. So if
But-
you were in a relationship today, it's not like you're investing 20 hours
And
a
what
week.
I mean by the right person, I mean by because first of all, we have a whole day to ourselves. We ain't got to do nothing. God told us take a day off. All right, Sabbath. I know you be preaching sometimes, but hey, that's a good time to spend with your family and your loved ones, right? But like, that partner is not gonna draw you away. They're gonna add to it. If they're the right person.
I agree with Mike.
They're going to be like, hey, like, let me help you, run this business that you got. Or, maybe they even got their own business and, like, y'all want to, like, y'all just kind of grow together. I just feel like if it's the right person, like, those things, not saying they're not, like, going to change, but it'll just be better.
Yeah, and...
Like, your life will be better.
Yeah. And I think it also comes down to communication.
Maybe I'm too much of an idealist.
I think it comes down to communication. No, Mike, you have some good points. Josh, I told you about this. This is the guy. I'm not going to say his name. But anyway, he's a really, really busy guy, entrepreneur. And he told his girl, he's like, hey, I'm not the guy who's going to have lunch with you. I'm not the guy who's going to be texting you good morning every day. Like, I'm not the guy who's going to have all this time for you. And I need you to accept that. But when we do spend time together, you're going to feel like the most special person in the world. Like, I'm going to make you number one during that time. And she accepted that. So I feel like a lot of the times when it comes to making time for a relationship, it's about communication of like, this is the time I have. And like, it might just be 30 minutes today. But if I can get you during those full 30 minutes, that'd be great. Like, for example, like the quarterback show that came out on Netflix. Like, this guy's wife, she's like...
First cousins.
Yeah, my favorite quarterback now, okay? Yeah. His wife is like, Tuesdays is quality time. I get him all to myself. I may not hear from him the rest of the week, but I know I get him Tuesdays. So, like, and that carries her throughout the whole week. So I feel like communication... And whenever that person comes, the right person comes, and you have that communication, whatever time you spend, even if it's just 5 minutes together, it's gonna be, you can make it work.
And sometimes just being by people, you don't even have to be like, doing something fun or like even talking all the time. Just sometimes just like being with them. You guys could both be studying together, or you could be both like, just eating lunch together or something, you know, like just things like that. I feel, and that's not for everyone, but like I feel for me, you know, that would be okay. But you know, like I said, I may be too much of an idealist, you know, but
okay, Mike. So my brother said he doesn't think he has the time right now. What about you?